Hidden among the Vatican's artifacts lies the Shroud of Turin, a linen cloth that has sparked debate for decades. In 1988, radiocarbon dating placed its origin between 1260 and 1390 AD, leading many scientists to call it a medieval forgery. Yet recent X-ray scattering analysis from the Institute of Crystallography suggests the fabric could date to around 55 AD, raising new questions about its true age. If this cloth is really 2,000 years old, why has its authenticity remained so fiercely debated? Could this artifact reshape our understanding of early Christian history? The Vatican's collection holds many mysteries like this, some displayed, many more concealed from public view. The Locked Vaults. What the Vatican doesn't want you to see. Few places in the world inspire more speculation than the Vatican's locked vaults. Known today as the Vatican Apostolic Archive, this vast repository stretches over 50 miles of shelving, holding documents that span more than a millennium. Access is strictly controlled. Only a select group of researchers are granted entry, and even then, only to specific materials they've requested in advance. The rules are clear: no wandering, no browsing, and certainly no searching for secrets. This level of restriction has fueled endless questions about what the Vatican is determined to keep from public scrutiny. Within these archives are records that have shaped world history. The trial documents of Galileo Galilei, preserved here, detail his confrontation with church authorities over his scientific discoveries. Other shelves hold the desperate plea of Mary Queen of Scots, written to Pope Sixtus V as she awaited execution, and the papal bull from 1493 that divided the New World between Spain and Portugal. There's also the letter from Henry VIII, signed by dozens of clergymen, asking for an annulment the Pope refused, a decision that would eventually spark the creation of the Church of England. These documents are not just relics. They are first-hand accounts of turning points that continue to influence society. Despite the Vatican's claim that all materials placed within the archives are accessible, skepticism persists. The sheer scale of the collection, thousands upon thousands of documents stretching for miles, makes it hard to believe that everything of interest is truly available. A significant portion remains inaccessible to most scholars, and the process for requesting access is so precise that only those who already know what they're looking for have any hope of seeing it. This selective openness has led to suspicions that the Vatican controls the narrative of history, choosing which stories are told and which are left in the dark. In recent years, the Vatican has begun digitizing parts of the archive, making some documents available to the public online. On the surface, this appears to be a move toward transparency, but digitization is a slow, selective process, and many wonder about the criteria used to choose which records are scanned first. Could the Vatican's scanning choices be guiding our focus away from the most sensitive files? The concern is that digitization, while seemingly open, might actually reinforce secrecy by emphasizing some narratives while keeping others permanently hidden. The intrigue doesn't stop at historical or political documents. According to Diana Walsh-Pasulka, a professor of religious studies, the archive contains accounts of supernatural events, reports of visions, miracles, and unexplainable phenomena. However, these records are not always clearly cataloged, making it difficult for researchers to locate or verify them. This lack of transparency has led to speculation about what the Church may know about events that defy conventional explanation, and why such accounts aren't more accessible to scholars or the public. Some believe the archives might also hold writings that challenge established views of early Christianity or shed light on controversial periods in church history. For instance, the actions of Pope Pius XII during World War II remain a subject of heated debate. Historians hope that documents within the archive could clarify whether the Vatican remained neutral or turned a blind eye to atrocities. While some related files have been released, critics argued that the process is too selective, leaving significant gaps in the historical record. The very existence of these locked vaults continues to attract curiosity. The sense of forbidden knowledge is heightened by the fact that even those granted access often describe their experience as incomplete, a glimpse into a much larger, inaccessible world. The archive's mystique comes not just from what is known, but from the vast unknown that lies beyond the reach of most researchers. Whether the Vatican's vaults contain nothing more than centuries-old paperwork, or something far more significant, their secrecy ensures that speculation will never fully disappear. The possibility that hidden truths or revelations could be waiting behind locked doors keeps the public's imagination alive. Yet the Vatican's written records are only part of the story. In other chambers, artifacts rest behind layers of protection, objects that inspire both devotion and doubt. Some of these relics are tied directly to the biggest questions of faith and history, their origins and authenticity still fiercely contested. Artifacts of mystery, the Shroud of Turin, and the True Cross. Among the Vatican's most notable treasures are artifacts that have sparked debates and fascination for generations. Two of the most discussed are the Shroud of Turin and the True Cross, objects whose stories blend history, faith, and scientific inquiry. The Shroud of Turin is a linen cloth imprinted with the image of a man who appears to have suffered wounds consistent with crucifixion. For many, it represents a direct link to the burial of Jesus Christ. The shroud's documented history begins in 14th century France, but its earlier origins remain uncertain, leaving a gap over 1,000 years that continues to fuel speculation. This uncertainty has made it one of the most studied artifacts in the world, with over 170 peer-reviewed papers dedicated to its analysis. Scientific efforts to date the shroud have produced conflicting results. In the 1980s, radiocarbon dating placed its creation between 1260 and 1390 AD, suggesting a medieval origin and prompting many to dismiss it as a forgery from a period when relics were often fabricated to inspire devotion or attract pilgrims. However, more recent research using advanced X-ray scattering analysis at the Institute of Crystallography examined the fabric's cellulose structure and proposed a date closer to 55 AD, which would align with the era of Jesus' death. This stark contrast between scientific findings has kept the debate alive, with each new study offering more questions than answers. Analysis of the shroud's bloodstains has added another dimension to the mystery. Researchers have detected ferritin and creatinine in the blood, biochemical markers associated with severe trauma. These findings indicate that the person wrapped in the shroud endured significant suffering, lending support to the theory that it could have covered a crucifixion victim. Yet the evidence stops short of confirming the individual's identity. Was this truly the burial cloth of Jesus? Or could it have belonged to another unknown victim of similar circumstances? The lack of consensus among experts ensures that the shroud's story remains unresolved. The True Cross, believed to be a fragment of the cross on which Jesus was crucified, is another relic that commands attention. Tradition holds that Helena, mother of Emperor Constantine, discovered the cross during a pilgrimage to Jerusalem in the 4th century. Over time, pieces of the cross were distributed to various churches, each claiming to possess a genuine fragment. One significant portion resides in the Vatican, believed to be part of a gift from Emperor Justin II in the 6th century, and bears a Latin inscription crediting Justin and his wife for their donation. According to church tradition, the cross was crafted from 3 types of wood: cedar, cypress, and pine, thought to have grown together in a single place and to have been used in constructing the Temple of Jerusalem. This detail adds to the relic's symbolic meaning and religious importance. Despite these stories, scientific verification of the true cross remains elusive. Over the centuries, so many churches have claimed ownership of fragments that the total amount so far exceeds what could have come from a single cross. If every church claimed a piece, how many of these relics could truly date to the original cross? No definitive scientific technique has linked the Vatican's fragment to the time or place of Jesus' crucifixion, leaving its authenticity open to question. Yet the relic's influence endures, reflecting the human desire to connect faith to tangible objects, even when evidence is inconclusive. The impact of the Shroud of Turin and the True Cross goes beyond questions of authenticity. These artifacts have shaped religious beliefs, inspired art and literature, and drawn pilgrims from around the world. For many, they serve as enduring symbols of sacrifice and faith, regardless of their historical provenance. The Vatican's decision to protect and display these relics reflects their ongoing significance, not only as objects of devotion, but as focal points for ongoing inquiry and debate. The enduring mystery surrounding these artifacts invites further questions about the Vatican's approach to history and evidence. As some relics remain protected behind layers of security, the Church's choices about what to reveal and what to keep hidden continue to shape public understanding. This careful control over access and narrative leaves many wondering about the motivations behind such secrecy and whether the full story of these relics has yet to be told. Artifacts like the Shroud of Turin and the True Cross illustrate the Vatican's complex relationship with history, belief, and evidence. But the influence of the Vatican extends far beyond objects in glass cases. Its role in shaping world events and the controversies that surround its actions reveal a deeper level of complexity, one that continues to raise questions about the stories preserved, omitted, or rewritten within its walls. Unveiling hidden agendas, the Vatican, and historical cover-ups. The Vatican's actions during pivotal moments in history have often raised questions about hidden motives and historical cover-ups. One of the most debated examples is its conduct during World War II and the Holocaust. While the Catholic Church is sometimes praised for offering sanctuary to those fleeing Nazi persecution, it has also faced serious accusations of conditional aid and moral complicity. The reality, as revealed by historians and newly surfaced documents, is more complicated than any single narrative. Central to this controversy is Pope Pius XII, who led the Church for much of the war. Before becoming Pope, he signed a treaty with Nazi Germany that protected Catholic institutions, but gave the regime room to strengthen its hold on power. As the Holocaust unfolded and millions of Jews were murdered, Pius XII largely remained silent in public. This lack of open condemnation has led to decades of criticism, with many arguing that the Vatican's silence enabled the Nazi agenda. Some scholars suggest that this silence was a calculated arrangement, an attempt to shield Catholics from Nazi retaliation, while others see it as a moral failure during a time when leadership was desperately needed. Recently discovered documents have added new layers to the debate. In the Vatican City's Pontifical Biblical Institute, researchers found records compiled in 1945 by Jesuit Father Gosselin Bolo. These documents detailed the names of 3,200 Jews who were hidden in Catholic convents and monasteries throughout Rome after the Nazis seized the city in 1943. The list was verified by Rome's Jewish community, Israel's Yad Vashem Holocaust Museum, and Catholic-affiliated scholars, lending significant credibility to its claim. The records provide precise details, names, dates, and locations, showing a coordinated effort by Catholic institutions to shelter Jews from deportation and likely death. This evidence complicates the narrative of total inaction or complicity. The act of sheltering Jewish individuals, often at great personal risk, shows that parts of the Church did resist Nazi policies. When the Gestapo searched Rome for hidden Jews, they rarely entered Catholic properties, suggesting that the Vatican's status offered a degree of protection. In these cases, the Church's intervention directly contradicted Nazi aims and provided a lifeline to many. However, even these acts of rescue are not without controversy. Historian David Kurtzer points out that many Catholic institutions reportedly offered sanctuary only to Jews who agreed to be baptized. This raises difficult questions about the motivations behind the Church's actions. Was the rescue truly about saving lives? Or was it also about religious conversion? What do you think? Can an act of rescue be fully noble if tied to conditions? This issue remains a point of debate among scholars and survivors alike. The question of conditional aid highlights the Vatican's complex position during the Holocaust. Critics argue that while the Church sometimes intervened to save individuals, it often did so in ways that advanced its own interests or beliefs. Supporters counter that, given the dangers of open resistance, the Vatican's behind-the-scenes efforts were the only practical way to save lives. The recently released documents reveal both compassion and calculation, demonstrating how the Church navigated a dangerous and morally fraught landscape. The Vatican's control over its historical records only deepens the sense of mystery. The release of Father Bolo's documents offers a rare window into the Church's wartime activities, but it also underscores how much remains concealed. For every file made public, countless others are still locked away, fueling speculation about what truths may still be hidden. The Church's power to determine which parts of its history are revealed and which remain secret ensures that the full story is always just out of reach. These controversies show how the Vatican's influence over historical events is both profound and carefully managed. Its actions, sometimes selfless, sometimes self-serving, continue to shape public understanding and spark debate. As new evidence emerges, the questions only grow more complex. The Vatican's legacy is defined not just by what it preserves, but by what it chooses to keep hidden. This ongoing tension between secrecy and revelation keeps historians, believers, and skeptics searching for answers. Conclusion. Throughout our journey, the Shroud of Turin and the Vatican's sealed archives have stood as reminders of how much remains unresolved. These relics and records act as gatekeepers to questions that challenge both historical fact and faith. Even as some documents become public, the Vatican's selective digitization and restricted access keep much of its collection out of reach, leaving the public to speculate about what lies inside. If you've ever wondered what truths hide in plain sight, share your theory below. The Vatican guards these secrets for a reason. What if the most explosive revelations are still buried?